Hey everyone, just doing a sound check. Let me know you're hearing me all right. Just doing a sound check. Just let me know. We'll be going here in just a few minutes, about 4 minutes or so. So you folks are hearing me okay, all right? I just want to make sure. Yeah, so sound check, folks. We're hearing me, right? Just need some feedback. Thanks a lot. Okay, cool. All right. So let's do one more song, and then I'll get started here. So this is a survey. The music that I'm playing on the channel is from a good friend of mine, old bandmate. I've got liberties to use any of his music. I've got his whole library here, but there's a song I've always hated. Oh, I shouldn't have told you that. Tell me if you like this song or not. Let's just see how this goes. I'll do a little survey. So we'll see how it goes.
Romance, a hard on slow dance, get along.
So anyway, I had to play that song. I told my buddy I would play it. He always gives me a hard time for not liking that song. I don't know what it is. Something about it. Anyway, it's going down to Liberty Station, huh? Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, we are starting to sell off just a little bit here. Just to do a brief recap here, I've got the futures up here trading. We're trading up about 0.84. We're seeing the NASDAQ take the lead. I talked about in last night's video that I thought the NASDAQ would try to regain some of its strength back and move against the Russell and the other indices. And of course, the Dow Jones is up now, but it's quite a bit weaker than the rest of the indexes. So, yeah, hang on one second, folks. So let me know if this is sounding better, making sure that we've got that going there. Make sure the sound is good. Okay, cool. All right, sorry about that. Not sure what was going on. Anyway, yeah, so in last night's video, I was discussing how I thought, we're seeing this big rotation away from the tech stocks. Of course, they're in play today. I saw that coming, and we're going to continue to see this forward back and forth ebbing. And one of the things that I'll talk about today is going through some of the intermediate charts and just kind of just going forward and recapping a little bit more about some of the things I said in last evening's video. Is one of the things when it was interesting, and I talk a lot about this, is that oftentimes when you feel that rally on Monday when it went all the way, when we saw the futures on the S&P go up to the 3650 level, 3645, and then it collapses down and closes 100 points off the highs. It feels very emotional, but when you start to look at like close only charts, you start to get a perspective. You see, since last Friday, we're up 75 handles from last Friday. We basically went out on the futures right at 3,500. So we're continuing to see things move. You see the PPMs on the chart here. They're exploding on the upside. And this is the futures, and we're just getting a sharp acceleration. Now the prices haven't accelerated because of that, what it looks to be on Monday's big spike. As I said, I didn't see that as a big deal. And of course, that was the day of that turnaround when we saw the tech stocks break loose. And you can see, like I said, right now, they're doubling, where the NASDAQ futures are up 2.2% and the E-minis up 0.92. So definitely is some of that take back. And we'll go through some of the spreads and some of the things I've been talking about on the channel. And I continue to be very bullish, and a lot to do with our database. And I'll try to unpack all this stuff in the beginning, as I always do. Just trying to get some further context on what I've been saying on the videos over the last couple of days. We're really seeing where the markets are just starting back into the grind. Like I said, take away Monday's big spike high and all that, the vaccine news off the table, and you're just seeing this steady move up. And I think, and I'm going to go through the charts and the spread charts and talk about this rotation a lot. It's interesting because I've been talking about this, and you folks know this, been talking about this rotation for a number of months now, and it's really starting to unfold. and it's starting to become more prevalent. And we spent a fair amount of time, I think it was last Wednesday's live stream, we spent a fair amount of time talking about that spread, how to put it on, what the likely outcome of this is going to be. And I think it was back in July when I started to see markets are going to move toward the all-time highs, which we've done and all that. And ultimately, that the only way that the economy, that the markets and everything was going to be able to go to the next level was that we had to see these small and mid-cap stocks rotate in. And let's just go over there right now and take a look at the Russell here. Let me go off screen so we can get this full screen here. And this is the daily, but if I switch over to a weekly time frame, you see we're just now breaking out into new highs. And what's interesting is it's a classic breakout. We've got some Fibonacci projections up above. I mentioned those in a video last night, 2069, which that's a big move in itself, right? That's like a 20% move on the Russell. So what we're doing from what the markets are going to start to evolve to is this will be the leader. We've got a lot to catch up here. And I'll go to the charts and I'll go to intermediate, even longer term charts to show just how poorly the small cap and mid cap area has been underperforming for a while, and for multiple years actually. And so this rotation will happen, whether they lead the way to crazy new highs, but they will, I believe, be the core of what we're going to see going forward. And it is interesting. I was on CNBC app earlier today, and all of a sudden every story is talking about the rotation and all that. I guess it's becoming a little mainstream, but it's still okay that the fact that folks are picking up that this is happening. That's okay. And I don't see that as a detriment just yet. We'll see if it gets a little frothy or not. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these spreads. And this is the Russell and the NASDAQ. Now this is the weekly spread, and it's just at the beginning. But I just want to show you in contrast what I'm talking about. This is what this looks like on a monthly basis. This has been happening going back to the previous crisis. This is 2009, since the S&P primarily and ultimately and the NASDAQ both have been outperforming these small caps for a long time. And you see they've just got down to it. And interesting to me anyway is that a lot of folks have used this as a negative on the market. And while the market was going up, they've been telling you that because of the weakness in the small caps, the stock market's going to collapse and the end of the world's happening. And meanwhile, while this was going, if you inverted this chart, this is what the major indexes look like. This is what the S&P looked like. This is what the NASDAQ looked like in inversion. It was going straight up while this is happening. And now, like I said, this will start to reverse. This is the very beginnings. This has happened before. We're a long ways from actually on a monthly basis actually turning this around. So there's going to be an evolution of, as I go back, and I'll just go over to the short-term view. When we go to short-term view, you'll see this long you'll see this long sideways move that's been basing out here, and that is your solid base that's been built. And this has been building since this crisis started, going back into March. We've started to see this thing grind its way out, and I've been focused on it probably since July. And then as we go through the next level and we look at the weekly, you start to see the wind built, and you can see the massive downtrend from 17 was where it really peaked out and just started going down. And then we'll go back to where I just was to the monthly charts. And so that is exactly what's going on here. Is this rotation is at the infancy. It's at the beginning of this happening. So I'll be, as I warned you, I warned you probably back in July or August that this was going to be a continuing dialogue with me, and that I would be watching this very close and expecting to see this thing evolve over time and start to see some change in leadership. And this is a major change, and this is something, this has, the beauty of technical analysis is it has nothing to do with the news. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the world. And, I've always believed, for the most part, it doesn't matter who the president is or any of that stuff. It gets emotional from time to time, and certainly in the last, I don't know, 15 years it has been, since Obama. And but in the end, it's always, it's America. We keep going on. We'll figure this out. And the planet and the planet wants to go forward. Everybody wants to go forward. We're people. We want to live, and we want to grow, and we want to do all that stuff. That seems to be the overriding feature of life, right? So, so this is telling us that there's a lot of things going on, especially in times like this. A lot of innovation going on right now, and I think that you're going to see amazing things in fintech and across the board. And fintech is really hot right now. There's a lot of things going on with dealing with money, a lot of new investors, and a lot of new focus on making your money do everything it can do for you, and so that you can ultimately move every other things in your life forward. People haven't focused on that as much. I don't think it always has been a focus, but there seems to be a shift. And just, we've been seeing it for years, like Acorn, and then, some of the other apps that are out there, money apps that are out there, SoFi, you can go on and on. You've seen this big explosion in this area, and I think it's just the beginning. I think the banks, as we know them, are going to change substantially. I'm not sure if they'll get taken out necessarily, but I do think there's going to be a big shift in how we all do banking and money and all that stuff. And this conversation I'm having with you today is going to evolve into Bitcoin and other elements that are absolutely going on the planet right now. And I think the dialogue that's going on seems to be loud and clear. Yeah, so let's see where we go from here. I want to go back to the indexes here for a minute and make sure I cover this. As you know, in the live streams, the first half hour to an hour, I'm going to go through and just talk to you about some things. Then after that, I'll go to some questions, and then ultimately we'll cover individual stocks and start to go through some of those things. But this rotation is high on my list of things to watch for right at the moment. I have to reset the scaling, so bear with me just 1 second. Okay. So let's go and take a look at the NASDAQ. It's continuing to hover, but let's go to the dailies here. Let me tear down a couple things off of the screen. I think that what we're seeing here is a completion of this little 3-day down, and we're going to see at least 3 sessions up, as many as 5. We're probably going to print a new high. I know it's interesting when I make a comment and I start talking about these higher prices. I try to make it as clear as possible that we needed to have certain closes to confirm these things. We still haven't got those closes. I did see some things in the chat earlier. This on the S&P, the number is 35.88. We're at 75 right now, so we're getting closer to these numbers. 76 on the futures, 35.76 is a breakout. Those are numbers that I want to see that are going to tell me at the next level. We will see a retest of 36.50. If you recall on the video that I was discussing the other day, that was the minimum target, was at 36.50. The bigger number is 38, and maybe I'll go into that here in a minute. But the bigger number is, maybe looking at 41 plus. And, it's funny because I go through and I see some of this stuff. I think it was Goldman or Morgan, one of those folks are talking about 21. There will be a vaccine, and and the markets are going to go up, and that's probably true. As I made some comments the other day, is that we're going to actually be able to be humans again and go hang out. I'm hoping that they get this thing together, that next year that we can have a conference and have a lot of folks come to a conference. We'll come out to Arizona and hang out and do a lot of market stuff, trying to figure out how to make some money. Let's go over to the S&P since we're talking about that. Let's go to SPX. And the spike that we saw the other day, that number is going to be tested the same as in the futures. PPM1 is now at a 0.89. You can see down here below. Let me go full screen here on the chart and get off the chart so we can see this. But what you'll notice is that all the PPMs are just exploding. So just for the record, this is not how the beginning of a collapse and everything's going to roll over and the end is coming. This is not what it looks like. You can see over here, back on September 9th, all these indicators were rolling over and flowing down. They're doing the opposite right now. So there's another level, like I said, just going through the Russell, going through the rotation. There's going to be some different leadership. So I'm going to suggest to you folks, if you're looking for stock ideas, look in that small and mid cap area. That's where there's going to be some monster plays. Some of those stocks are going to move really big. The Apples and the Teslas were fun, okay? They're not going to be easy, and they're not going to be as much fun as they were. Maybe I see a comment that Jay just made. I do have a video that maybe if you folks are really nice today, that I will play some music from when I was 19 years old, and there's pictures of me and the band, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe I'll do that. We'll think about it at the end of the show, maybe. So maybe that's one of those stay and watch the rest of the show to get to that level. So we'll go from there. But you can see these patterns are all starting to unfold in a big way, and they're accelerating. And I'm going to go, after talking about this, we're going to go daily, weekly. We're going to look at the monthly, and then I'm going to bring up the database, and that's really important too. As you know, I have a database that tracks all of our models on 16,000, roughly 500 stocks. I think it's 16,400 and change. But these are also rotating. We're back to 60% long on the 60% bullish on the short term, and we're 55 plus on the intermediate. So there's a lot of good positive things going on here. And this pattern with the, as we're looking at right here on the daily, with the market grid flattening out here, this, we are probably a day or two away. We're getting the 10-period moving average right now is at 34.39. It's quite a ways. Let me bring this over on the screen so you can see that. See the 10-period 34.39. That is accelerating right now, and it's going up about, it's going up 30 handles per day. So that's going to be literally in 3 days, it'll be 3,500. So you're going to start to see this 10-period moving average rising under the pattern, and then it will continue to accelerate and should carry us into much higher prices. And if we go to the weekly chart to unpack this just a little bit more, now you start to see some of the numbers. When Morgan's talking about 4,100, I'm talking minimum objective on a weekly down. And now this is going to happen. This is sometime next year, that we're looking at a minimum of 4,600 on the S&P. That's 1,000 points. That's absolute insanity, or so it would seem. Whether that comes to pass or not, we'll see. But we're definitely watching the PPMs on the weekly basis also accelerating, and PPM 1 is at a 0.44, which is trend mode. PPM 2, which is right over here, I've put the, I think the cursor's in black, so I'm going to have to draw this in. It's in white my side, but it shows up black on YouTube. So let me just draw this in so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So right over here, PPM 1 value 0.44, PPM 2 0.69. Now PPM 3 is 0.19. But what I want you to see is that all of these have broken. This one is barely above, and we're waiting for PPM 1 to break above its first and second derivative. Once that happens, then all of this stuff starts to accelerate. Whether it gets ultimately kind of divergences, where the next move up, the indicator doesn't make a new high over these highs, that's yet to be seen. I'm going to clear this up because I want to bring up a concept here that's important if you're following my work. Is this PPM 1 is short term, this is intermediate, longer term, and then this is super long term. It seems to match better with this one, but what you'll notice is that the momentum peaks at different levels on these from a trend. This was the peak here. And what happens then is we go into what I call the maintenance mode. So I'm going to draw a bunch of stuff for you here for a second. I've talked about this before, where momentum precedes price. So it looks like you get all this momentum push, and then these indicators go into a flat mode, and they don't really accelerate much. You probably don't make any new highs. The next move on this indicator here will probably be up into this level. So you don't see them necessarily, they don't have to make new highs, but they need to maintain a certain amount of upward pressure. And these are a little bit different than your typical view of RSI and stochastics and those type of indicators. Those are 0 to 100 meters. They will get over, get to the top of their, and just stay overbought. And I gave up overbought, oversold stuff a very long time ago. I just don't believe in that. In fact, bull markets like to be overbought, I guess, is the best analogy I could bring up. But this, all of these patterns that are unfolding here are very positive. So if we go to the next level and we go to monthly, now this brings up another perspective. So this is the monthly grid. 3578 was RXT on a monthly basis. We've actually been up to 3645. This is the cash S&P, but we're also, I want you to look at the same thing I was just showing you on the PPMs on the weekly. You're seeing even more dramatic on the monthly here. Look at all of these PPMs are turning up. And this is portraying something really crazy and bullish as we look down the road. And, you know, this is one of the hardest markets to figure out for most people. It's easy, and it has been easy for a lot of folks to talk about from a viewpoint of taking the whole COVID crisis and everything and extrapolating out the Great Depression. I'll take my opportunity to take a stab here at Mr. Dalio. You know, there's no Great Depression coming. It's not coming. Okay. The news media is already playing up some narratives already. The dark winter. I saw that 2 times on CNBC app today. It's supposed to be a market app, but you know, there's a lot of things going on. Are they going to try to lock this thing down again? I don't know. You know, we're sitting here printing higher, and the backdrop of the news is there's more cases than there have been ever before, and that may be very true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying no one cares. Is what I'm saying. When it comes to the markets, they're not caring. So we're looking at this high end of the range on the monthly here is 3578. We are trading at this moment 3574. We're trading at the extreme that was projected. This is the 11th of November. These numbers came out on the 1st of November, the first trading day, and we've already exceeded the average range that on the upside that exists every month. And then we look at the PPMs that I was just talking about below, and we're seeing accelerations. We're looking at 1.12. Anything over 0.25 is a bullish mode. So we're 5 times the strength on some of these indicators just to have what to be considered an uptrend. So from that viewpoint, there's some big things going on here. So, you know, I try to take the opportunity on these live streams to actually go into a bigger in-depth view of what's going on the big scheme, you know. So I wish there might be, maybe some of you folks know, but maybe there is a way for us to, I wish you could see how many doomsday the market's going to crash versus market good, like get some kind of market sentiment out of that. Might be kind of interesting. But I can tell you that any video I put a negative video on, my views double or triple. Instead of getting my typical 10 or 12,000 views, I'll go to 20, 30,000 views just by saying the market's going to go down. Or even put a thumbnail that even insinuates that in any form, even for 2 days. So it's been interesting. I went through all of my videos just on my channel and looked at the negative thumbnails versus the positive, and the views go way up on negative versus positive. So there's definitely, I guess if I could say anything, we're probably climbing the wall of worry, meaning that there's a lot more people worried about the market going down than they are it going up. So it's going to go up. The old saying, markets always go in a direction that can hurt the most people, seems to be running pretty true. You know, you look at the last 2 weeks, you know, if you recall, And as a matter of fact, you folks aren't letting me forget, but on Friday 2 weeks ago, the video, we had closed below levels. We needed a confirmation of one more level to get the disaster mode in place. We reversed from there, went straight up, all the way up, really into Monday's high at 3650. So we went from 3230 to 3650 in 6 days. And we gapped, I think 5 out of 6 days were higher gap openings. And so there was, I mentioned the force, and somebody made a comment, may the force be with us. The force was, whether it was a Fed or sovereign governments across the world, I don't know who was buying this thing, but I made this comment on some commentary one night that no one seems to care about what the price is of what they're buying. Now, finally, on Monday, when things got frothy, they finally came back into senses. But now we're seeing, that's why last night's video, markets to claw back. They're clawing back what they gave back on Monday's little reversal. They're working that back. And all of the momentum, everything I just unpacked for you, looking at the S&P, the same things are on the composite and the NASDAQ and all of these other indexes. And I went through the Russell as well. So I've unpacked quite a bit here in this first 35 minutes of generally what's going on more than just what's going to happen tomorrow, but what's going to happen over the next several months, the leadership change that I talked about. All the PPMs and the trends that we're in solid uptrends. These are not minor uptrends. These are things that are not statistically easy to break down. Okay, even that little big reversal that felt so dramatic on Monday wasn't enough to do it. We're, like I said, if you just look at close only prices, we continue just to move forward. And this monthly chart, when I see this thing is really projects a much higher prices. And like everybody, if you turn back on to last April and March and April, it was very, very easily to be super negative. The only thing that saved my ass was that our database came out buying both hands on March 26th, and the following Monday, we actually saw something like 8,000 symbols get bought. Over half of the database got bought in those 3 days off the lows. All of these trends turned amazingly all of the so all of these things that are happening out there are big. And so my chair's kind of squeaky. So if you guys are picking that up, it's kind of annoying to me. So I'm trying not to move too much, especially if I lean back. But so try putting WD-40 on this thing. I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of funny. All right, let's dig into. Let's go dollar, gold, interest rates, Bitcoin, and then we'll go to questions about markets that you have out there, and then the next phase after that, and that should put us probably about a half hour from now. Then we'll go into individual stocks and go from there as well. We got a long ways. We got a couple hours before the close, so we've got a long ways to go. As you know, we hang out to just after the close, so that'll be good. All right, so let's start with treasuries. I'm just going to keep this up here like I have it right now with the monthly chart on the 10-year treasury. see we're moving well above the 10-month moving average. We're also seeing PPMs all turning. Interest rates are going much higher, at least on the 10-year to about 1.2%. And then you're looking at the potential ultimately to move the 10-year, I think, closer to 1.5%. And I've been very vocal talking about this, is that the Fed, we're never going to see negative rates in the United States of America. So this is definitely a sign of what's going on. If we just back up and go to the weekly chart, and you'll see we're moving up towards some of the objectives right now. Let me bring that on screen so you can see it. We're above the RXT number right now. RXT is 948, the high is 975. But if we look at the targets, we're looking at 918 was a min target on the weekly, 1076, 1174. So converting that to yields would be 1.07 to 1.17 would be the upward range. And this is what I was just talking about. This is where this thing is going. And that is actually a good sign. And this is connected to what I've been talking about for a while, which is that leadership rotation. This type of numbers is going to help the financial sector, which is the largest sector in the stock market. From a number of stocks, there's a lot of mid and small caps, regional banks, a lot of things like that. There's other companies that fall into that mid cap area that also are financial. But as I've said, this is actually, believe it or not, the higher rates are helping give certain parts of the economy a better margin so that you can actually be able to see economic growth accelerate. Now, if they shut it down, of course, it's game, set, match. No one seems, the markets don't seem to think that's even in the cards right now, in spite of all the increase in cases, in spite of all the rhetoric that you see. You know, that's not what we're seeing happening in the real world. The real world is seeing liquidation come into the treasuries and all that. So let's go next and just go from here and go to the dollar index. And the dollar's doing better today. And I'll cover gold here in a minute. So we'll go treasuries. You know what? Before I go over to the dollar index, I do want to show you this 1030 spread on the yield curve. This is continuing at a very high level. I believe will continue to steepen, although it's getting pretty frothy at this level. And I've talked about this in the past, that if we look over, I'll mark this cursor area over in the middle of the chart back on the 9th of March. That was when the Fed went to zero rates. That's when they said they would buy all the assets. That's when that moment happened. And you'll see the steepening. We still have not taken out the steepening that we got just going into the May cycle of what the Fed did. But now what they're doing, and this has been well known, Jay Powell has told us that they're targeting, they want a steepening yield curve. They're going to push the long end of the curve, the 10 and the 30-year, they're going to push that out. That's what's going to happen there. And they're going to continue to keep this long end and those spreads as far out as they can without causing any issues. So that means their purchases that they're doing in treasuries, they will focus on 2s and 5s, not so much on 10s and 30s. They'll let those markets float to wherever they want to go, and they'll keep the shorter end of the curve down. And that's why I think I don't think I have the 2 5s, but I do have this is the 5 10s. The 5 10s are spreading out quite a bit. And this is exactly what I'm talking about here, as that means they're buying the 5s, the 10s are moving beyond, are steepening. So the yields are getting steeper. They're keeping the yields on the 5s I don't have a 2-5 spread. If I did, you'd see not as much contrast in that area, especially if you go to a 3-month versus the 2-year. That is where the Fed is working to control all of this stuff. This may sound boring, may not sound like, you know, what's the next uptick on the S&P or the NASDAQ, but this is the backdrop of what's going on. Interest rates are everything in the markets, and risk evaluation, everything. You know, one of my first professors told me, if you want to understand what's going to go on in the economy, you better understand interest rates. And I went crazy on studying interest rates, and that was a long, long time ago. And I've focused on interest rates for most of my career, been a Fed watcher, been intense. I ran an institutional firm that did nothing but consult the banks on yield curves and this type of trading. And this is important, and I bring this to you folks on these live streams because I have enough time to talk about it. But all of this stuff is how the economy is structured right now, and that plays into the rotation, all of that stuff. The tech stocks had a run to make. The stay-at-home stocks, you know, we saw them get whacked. They're probably over. And when we go through some of the individual stocks, make sure that you folks, and I'm sure you will, ask me to cover some of the stocks so we can look at some of these and really start to see this theme that I'm talking about unfold. This is huge to understand. So stay with me on this, because this is actually this is the type of stuff that if you understand this, you now understand the backdrop. An old buddy of mine used to always say, every time I think I know where things are going, they change the background on me. This is the background, interest rates. This is really important to understand, and understand the yield curve and what's going on with rates and why they're going up and why yields and the stock market will go up together. That's also another phenomenon. You get people to tell you that can't happen. Well, it does all the time. You have to understand there's different configurations in the economy. There's different elements that happen in different cycles of every economy. There is no seasonal. I hate seasonals. I think they're the biggest bunch of shit ever. Is that, you know, people, this is a seasonal period. Just forget it. Some yeah, some not. You know, it's not quite as cut and dry as a lot of folks would like to make you think. And that's just an opinion, but it's also something I've observed over a few years. But this is important to understand. Sorry to get on a big rant on this, but this is important to understand. And I'm not sure how much of this. I know there's some channels out there telling you about how corporate debt is a big bubble. It's not. Okay. You know, it's not even close. That's not that's not the straw that broke the camel's back. That's not what's going to knock the markets down. That's not it. That's not going to do it. That's just another hype piece for folks to try to come up with and try to, I don't know, whatever. So, all right. So let's move on. Enough on yield curve. Didn't know I was going to get quite at that level, but that's how it happens sometimes. So now we go back to the dollar. And the dollar is rebounding back into its moving averages. It also, and I've talked about this, I still think ultimately this is the weekly dollar chart. Ultimately, I think the dollar will head toward most likely the 96 handle. We're currently the 93 handle. That's probably, you know, somewhere up 5-7%. The dollar isn't going to decline a lot. PPMs are still mixed. There's not a lot of upward momentum. There's still downward pressure, in fact, on the above the markets right now. We're looking at, let me just get the average, 93.97 is huge resistance. We did see it trade up 2 weeks ago. We traded to 94.30. The 21 period moving average was 94.19, and we reversed right off of that, went all the way down to the bottom end of the market grid And then now what we've seen is basically a stabilization from last Friday's close, and we're seeing it move back into resistance 93.34, high today 93.21, 90. That is the high. That is the high for the week. So that is where we're printing right now. So we're likely to be getting fairly close. PPM1 is trying to turn up. We might be able to get a little bit above that 93.34, but then you've got major resistance at 93.97, and that number is still coming down at about 20 per week. So 93.77, 93.65 as we come into next week. Those are going to be major resistance points. And I'll tie this together when we get, I'll go to gold next and we'll tie that together. We'll go Bitcoin, and then we'll go to questions on, rates are going somewhere soon. They're going up. So what you're seeing here on the dollar is most likely is just a stabilization. There's not any new uptrend yet, and there's no downtrend. We're just total flat. The range is down. The low so far has been 92.13 to 93.21 this week. We're going to stay in these type of ranges. This market grid is going to dominate over the next several weeks. We're going to be locked into this zone. And like I said, those are the numbers. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. So let's go to gold. I'm going to go over the daily gold here quickly. And we saw the big down day on Monday. Gold got whacked pretty good. We went down and went just below that 1850 at 48 was the low exactly. We saw a bit of a rebound yesterday, moved back into 1888. Now today we're seeing some back tracing again. The low's been 53.90, last 62. I still think this thing is going to hold this 50 area. The daily chart that I have up here right now is actually showing that that momentum's trying to turn back up. So there's not any big acceleration and downside. It's literally the last 2 days after the initial drop on Monday. The last 2 days have been that consolidation. We won't know until tomorrow how this thing's going to set up. It looks like it's trying to set up just a little minor bottom, but there's a lot of resistance. As I go over to the weekly chart, you'll see what I'm talking about here. The weekly is actually where all of the resistance exists. 1911 is the 10-week moving average. It's down 0.37. That's in a trend mode. That is dropping right now about $7 per week. 1906, 1903. I talked about those numbers in last night's video. That's about as high as you could get on a rebound right now. And like I said, the dailies are telling me this thing is fairly close to maybe stabilizing, but there's a lot of work to be done. 1950 right now. Try that again. 1850 to around 1903 is going to be the numbers that you have to be able to expect to see gold stay in. So there's probably a nice little trading range here, buying down in the 1950s and selling, 88, 90, close to 1900, maybe a little bit above. There doesn't appear to be any trends. There is a potential downtrend starting to emerge. It will be about the next, I would say the next 2 weeks will determine this pattern. The one thing that there is going forward at 1816, that PPM3 is at a plus 0.32. And if we did reach down to 1816, we'd probably see a sharp rebound off of there. I actually think the 1850, 48 level will hold. We'll see how the next couple of days go, but we should see a stabilization based on looking at those. All right, so let's go to Bitcoin, and this is weekly Bitcoin, and I've been talking about this quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. I've been super bull on Bitcoin for this week. Let me bring the market grid back over here. For this week, the high has been 15,991, R1 15,839. Yeah, pushback, Barad. I will take that up in a minute. I actually talked about that a little bit ago. I don't know if you were online, but yeah. So I will try to address that here in a few minutes. But the bottom line is, Bitcoin is definitely in a firm uptrend. You look at the PPMs, we got a 4.78. These are really big numbers on a weekly. And the objective, minimum objective on Bitcoin, 18,423. More likely we'll hit 21,698, 23,720. That's not tomorrow, but that's over, a 12 to 16 week period. We should see that happen. And that is definitely going to be, this trend will continue. The old highs, I think, were at 19.6 roughly. None of that will, that 19,000 number won't make, it doesn't have any relevance. We will go beyond that. I don't see us just going back up and getting a double top. There's something bigger going on here. There's been enough trolls around Bitcoin and telling everybody how it's not worth anything to see this thing go to another level. Right now, those are all the objectives I have right now. I don't have any higher projections there, but let's go to the daily, just look at that pattern, and so we can understand that. And I noticed that in the last couple of days, Ether and Litecoin have started to pick up too. But here's the Bitcoin on a daily. On the 5th, we did get an RXT sell. We should get 1 to 2 days sideways. We got that. We're out of that, but we're printing today. Our RXT today is 16,054, 15,897 is R3. We printed 15,991. So we basically printed R3 and almost got an RXT number, 16,064. So we've been, I think, 15,999 has been the high. I think here is, let me just see here. Yeah, 15,968. It depends on, Bitcoin's really tough because it has a lot to do with it has a lot to do with as far as these patterns go. It has a lot to do with I think the daily configuration, when every data service has a different ultimate high and low. That's one of my frustrations with Bitcoin. If you go to Coinbase, they have a high. You go to some of the other exchanges, they have different print highs for the day. And maybe the only thing that's worth watching there is the 4 and 6 hour charts. That's all you can look at. But those are very hard to make any real definitive longer term analysis. But these numbers should play out that I just talked about. Let's take a quick look at Ether. Ether's it hasn't been as strong as Bitcoin. Bitcoin's definitely been the leader, but we are seeing all the PPMs are up on a daily. We're seeing acceleration across the board. There's no higher objectives, at least on a daily right now, and we've seen RXT 478.20, high 476.80. So we printed RXT for the day, and that is likely to, if we finish up here, we're going to see the grid turn up tomorrow, and it'll start to it'll start to upward slope here with this acceleration. Let's take a look at the weekly. That's about all. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at this, but here are the projections for Ether on the weekly, and they are 711, 864, and 958. Those would be a similar number, like relative to what I was talking about as far as the pattern projection goes off of Bitcoin. So this is most likely going to be the same thing. Let me just see if I can go to monthly. Yeah, I'm not, this old monthly high looks like 973. So if I go back to, and unfortunately this service doesn't have a lot of good data that I'm on. But yeah, so going back to the weekly, that high projection, that 958 number would be an all-time new high on Ether. I'm not sure that's the high. Maybe you folks know what it is. That's funny. Yeah, every time I do cover Bitcoin, the bots show up on our channel. So it makes me hesitant to put that out there. It's amazing. There's 3 of us purging all the bots off of our channel all the time. They are a pain in the ass, big time. All right. See, let's do one more market I haven't covered for a while. Let's take a look at bear with me 1 second. Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look at crude oil. We have, wow. Take a look at crude oil. And crude oil on a weekly basis is above its RXT number, but more importantly, we're seeing a breakout. It looks to me that crude is going to start to head toward, I would say, ultimately $53, possibly going as high as $60. And that would play out once again. That would play out once again toward the economy coming back on, these secondary stocks, more activity. That's the only way crude oil is going to go. That's an economic play, a pure play. There's not that many electric cars out there. And so, and most of the electric cars are being run on coal or natural gas. So that's even funnier yet. But the bottom line is, this is a very strong looking market. We're not quite got breakouts. We do have a plus 0.37 on a weekly, but this is pretty significant. Let's go to the monthly. Let's just stay with the long term, and this basically tells us we'll probably go to the 21-week moving average. It's 52, and the 40 is that 60 number. So we're going to move up into these moving averages, and this thing's just going to play out. It looks to me that we're talking about first, second quarter of next year. And that just tells us one thing and one thing only, is that, planes are going to be moving around, all that kind of stuff. That's exactly what we're going to see happening. Activity. It's funny, I had a dream night before last. I was boarding a plane. Haven't done that for a while, right? That's an interesting dream to have. I was actually in the boarding process. It was really a weird gate. It was like getting on a spaceship. Maybe there was another message there. Anyway, so, but yeah, so there's crude oil. Let's see what kind of questions you guys have about anything I've talked about so far that you've been watching. Let's go there first, and we'll do that for a few minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes to see what kind of questions are out there. And then we'll open up the craziness, and we'll dig into the stocks. So don't forget your Runa. You guys heard me pop it early on. So Yeah, let's see what kind of questions we got coming out. Yeah, Gino, 3588 is in play. That is, for me right now, the number that matters. We're 68, so we're backing up here a little bit. We saw them get up in the, there's going to be resistance up here. It's going to be a stair-stepping move on this stuff as it goes. You know, we traded, let me get over to a daily chart here on the futures. So far the 76 high is in between R1, R2. I mentioned in last night's video that I thought we would trade possibly to R2, which was 86 on the cash or SPX. That same number is 75. We've printed 81, so we did exactly the same. We went above R2 on the cash, and R3 is 35.91, so we printed 81, and now we're back at 69. So we're seeing some backfilling. Well, we got an hour and a half to go, so a little maybe profit taking as we come into the close from that standpoint. Yeah, I know. Don't we all miss traveling? Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Art K. I want to show you folks something. Jay and I were looking at some stuff, and I made some comments on the WaveTech meetings before, but I'm going to bring up our product, our software. We actually have software, this TradeStation. I spend a lot of time talking about that. I'm going to bring up, see if I can get to the right page here. Yeah, so this is the ARC-G. I went through, and one of the things that Jay and I have been working on a project, we're going to accelerate some of our plans, but this is the ARC-G, and we took some, and I mentioned this on the WaveTech training. We're going to show Kathy Woods how to be way better than she ever imagined. And so, so Kathy, if you're watching, give me a ring, call me. We'll show you how to do this. But one of the things that we did in our portfolios, let me just bring this up here, is we built some things here. The blue line that I have on the screen right now, let me go off. Let me get out of the way. The blue line is the actual, what we call the ARC actual, that, and the green line is the S&P. So what we did so far is we thought, what if we took the top 10 constituents and ran a multivariant model against it? And I will show you that. Now the ARC SPX is down at the bottom. The green line is Kathy Woods. The blue line is us making Kathy Woods better. So instead of being up 45%, she'd be up 116%. And I could break down a lot of details here, but we started taking a bunch of these and just breaking them down. And we took a bunch of these different funds, and the orange line in this out is Kathy. The other lines on this page, let me make it full page. All the other lines are us taking their stocks and trading them within our models, and mostly weekly. Only the blue line, which is pretty much on top, is the top dog in this presentation here. The very bottom line way down here is the SPX, is the purple, and then it goes up. So the orange line is Kathy all by herself. This line right here is Kathy. This is us taking her funds, taking the constituents, and trading them a little different. We're going to have some really cool stuff because we're going to do our dynamic indexing strategies on here, and it'll blow this up most likely even more when we start to get some stuff. We're trying to get all of her constituents going back to 17 and start to play this out. And you know, this is what you can do when you can dynamically trade in a quant world, taking somebody that knows how to pick stocks. I am a huge fan of Kathy, by the way. I think her thought process, I think what she's doing is amazing. I just know there's something better in there. So anyway, yeah, believe it or not, I said this, that this is super easy. You guys haven't seen anything yet, so we're going to show you. And this product's available to you folks right now. You can do a 2-week trial. Go to portfolioexpert.com and you can sign up and get a 2-week trial. And we're going to be starting to teach folks how to do that. Yeah, we'll go through some of the. Yeah, there's not a chance somebody run for president. That's funny. But yeah, so we're going to show you some really cool stuff. Guys, keep hanging out on this channel. We got a little slow start today. Actually, we usually have about 1,000 viewers right now. We got about 538. I actually think these markets have worn down a lot of people, this crazy volatility. Yeah, I just, you know, somebody said Bob has the hots for Kathy. I don't. But what I do have is high guard respect. And she's, I love her thought process. I've watched a few of her videos, not a lot. But yeah, it's pretty good stuff. All right. So enough of an advertisement. And, but yeah, so if you sign up for Portfolio Expert, you get our entire suite. You get Wave Tech, you get the market grid, you get our stock screens that we developed to find highly profitable companies and high quality companies to put in our database and to trade. You get all this stuff. I mean, and when you look at it, if you use this stuff right, folks, my favorite line I always say is, it's free if you do it right, and because you're going to more than pay for it. I mean, it's basically, you know, if you have a reasonable size account, you can do some amazing things. Yeah, and I think the Robinhood gang probably has been worn down pretty good. That's funny. All right, so let's what else is on your mind? Let's talk about things related to markets. Let's not get into individual stocks yet. And then I still need a vote. Do you guys want to see Bob Kendall, 19 years old, and hear some of our old rock music? That would be interesting. You have to let me know. Yeah, Tim, it's super simple. Somebody asked how easy it transfer portfolios from WaveTech to XP. They automatically transfer. You do nothing. You open it up and all your WaveTech portfolios will be right there. Yeah, as far as the 3100 right now is off the table, I think, is to answer that question on that super chat. I don't see that. When we got the reversal that we saw last week, the closes, now we're looking, you know, it just got negated. So that thing just got blown up for sure. So, all right. Well, we'll do that at the end of the show. Okay. So you folks are going to have to hang out if you want to see that. Yeah, I think I've got a video that I've got on another YouTube channel that I can show you. That's my private YouTube. So that'll be fun. Yeah, Joel G, I want so bad. We used to do national conferences all the time, and we had hundreds of people. I actually think we could get a couple thousand people to hang out and get a stadium and have just a ton of fun. I've got a lot of cool friends I can bring in to talk, do breakout sessions, all kinds of stuff. I want to do a hangout for sure. We will get it done. Humans will be social again. There's only so much they can go. So I don't know how long they can. It's sort of like having a fence on a lot of wild animals. That if the fence breaks, they're going to run through it. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually was asked that. I can tell you I have a meeting tomorrow that somebody wants to do exactly that matter with the ETF. You know, maybe it is my destiny. We did run an offshore fund for a while back in 2000, and I actually have some interest in doing that again as well. But yeah, so whoever that is, Dave Hunter's calling for a melt up S&P 4500. That's a little wild, but certainly anything's possible. My objectives, if you watch the beginning of this video today, was 4600 is, we'll call it a maybe 12 to 16 week potential. It could, but I do see a substantial rally coming. And so, you know, I know I've taken a lot of heat from that video a couple of weeks ago, but you know, when the data turned, so do I. And you know, it's folks want to go back and rake you across coals of something you said 3 years ago. Thank God my broker dealer doesn't make me do that, so I can put on new trades. Yeah, yeah. That's you know, one of the things I went through early in this broadcast today is talking about our database, and one of the things that makes me / this channel different than many is that we're just now looking at some index charts. You know, I was just putting up our portfolio expert software. This software covers 16,000 symbols. So when you go to research, you can see all types of symbols and data on this thing. It goes on and on. There's just tons and tons of symbols in here, and we even have the ability to do data mining on all 16,000. This product is absolutely amazing if you want to find ideas and to make money. There's plenty of stuff out there. But yeah, so reason why I bring this up again is if I bring up the database here, this gives you a little visibility into the world, is that we have 16,423 symbols running the logic that I built actually back in 1992-94 that came out of my 41 years, but this came out of about a 21 years of my research and what I've done. But these are all signals that are coming and looking at the data individually, every symbol. So we're not going, hey, the S&P is going up, so everything else is going up too. No, we look at every individual stock. That's why we're able to take, like a Kathy Wood, take a mutual fund, take an ETF and decompile it and rebuild it and make it better, because a lot of ETF managers. They have a concept, an idea, and here's a group of stocks that we're just going to own, and they do that whole diversity pie chart thing. And even though they're willing to be somewhat dynamic in their efforts, you can't be as dynamic when you have a quant running stuff. I talked to somebody a few weeks ago, and he was telling me how good he is. I said, you cannot beat this thing, not over time. You might be able to beat windows of time, but you can't beat it. This thing doesn't get tired. When we were programming this original project, this goes back to 1994, one of my partner that was with me at the time, he was talking to another buddy of his that was a programmer, and he made a comment like, wouldn't that be a lot of work to create all that stuff out of the database? And the guy says to him, he goes, it's a computer. It doesn't care. Just tell it what you want it to do. It'll do it. And that's the beauty. I mean, no humans can do this stuff. It can't be done. Every night we do 10 million calculations. Every night. So anyway, I'm done. All right. So let's take a look, and let's go back over here and back to reality. We're seeing NASDAQ's pull back fair amount now. We're up 220, up 190. E-minis up only 3.7 now, so we pulled back to 54. So we traded up toward that resistance point again. So we're still up on the session. We'll see how this thing plays out. We've got an hour and 10 minutes to go. So let's go ahead and there is a giant project going on, and it will magically show up when it's done. I am cleaning up the mutual funds. Yes. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. You know, this last hour, last 30 minutes, let's go in. I got my pen ready. So you folks, let's do stocks. Let's focus on all right, yeah, keep them coming. Yeah, Richard, I'm aware of that. Yeah, we're actually working on a brand new mapping of all of the sector groups, all that stuff. It's coming. It takes a while. A lot of work. All right. All right, let me get through some of these. Take a look at what's going on. There's quite a few here, some good symbols. Yeah, Tim Whitaker, I see a comment from a little bit ago. It said, my emotion kill me, WaveTech is the answer. That's why I actually developed it. The very first trading model I did was because of my emotions. Yeah, it looks like it's stabilized. I'm not sure if there's any news. I've been kind of monitoring Yep. Yeah, I don't see anything out there. I'm just all right. Let's go ahead and dig into a couple of these stocks. Got to go to Peloton, right? It's rebounding after the big gap down. This is the daily graph here. PPMs all turned way negative. Lots of overhead resistance right at 112. That's your big number. The high today, 106. You see 112. You're probably going to be able to sell against that number. Market grid looks like it's 112.09 is R2. R1, we didn't even get there today. Let's go to weekly. Yeah, these stay-at-home stocks, you had to know eventually this was going to happen. And I think the stock that I want to point out that I talked about a while back, and I want this pattern, I want you to remember this pattern, because I'm going to do Tesla next, because I remember getting a lot of pushback on a live stream months ago when I said that most likely that Tesla had printed its high. And, you know, there was, people were so deep into Tesla they couldn't see it. And Richard, you got to stop it, man. You're killing me. That's where I always go and get my favorite hamburger after my live stream on Wednesday. Don't do that. It's too early, man. You're making me hungry. All right. So Peloton is on the underside of the 10-period moving average. Maybe it could get back to these 109, 106, 109. We'll call it 110. That's going to be top end for this stock at the moment. So nice rebound. It definitely got way overdone, traded down to 92. Missed that one. If you caught it, you could be selling right in here, 106, 110. You could just let it go, see what happens in the next couple of days. So let's go to Tesla, because this just reminds me of the Tesla pattern. And this is important. Back when we got this big spike high back on the 4th, that was right at the market high too. But this pattern that we're seeing here is just, we watched most of the short-term momentum burn off. And then what we have right now is the 21. So 365, anything that looks, the bottom end of the grid, this is a weekly, bottom in the grid, 383, 365, you can buy Tesla there and look for a decent bounce. But the PPMs have all rolled over on the intermediate level. They're going to continue to bleed off this upward momentum, but there's enough upward momentum left that's going to keep the underlying trend moving higher for at least another 4, maybe 6 weeks. There's a lot of power still in this stock from the standpoint of holding. So if you do see a move down, we didn't quite get low enough, but somewhere, like I said, 383, 360, you know, you can definitely jump in there. And then you're looking back at 416, maybe 419 on the upside would be your target. I don't expect that to happen today, by the way. Let's go over and take a look at the daily. And the daily is seeing some upward acceleration, but we've got this mix. I mean, this happens a lot. Positive PPM 1, 0.22, negative PPM 2, negative PPM 3. So the overhead resistance at 22 is huge. At 422, 423, that's your ceiling. That's your maximum. I don't know if I would short against that, but certainly it looks like there's a lot of momentum that's starting to yeah. Yeah, and just looking at some comments here. um, all right. I'm going to flip over to, I think I have the right account. I do. Somebody's talking about the airlines, and we did get a ton of buys on the airlines. We actually went 100% long. I built a Warren Buffett strategy back in May, and it did really good. It got out. It's tried getting in and out a couple times. It's been kind of giving some money back here over the last couple months. It's still up on the year 73%. Actually, at the peak equity, it was up 100%. So that was, but it gave back that money. So we're basically just a little bit below this flat here. We did see quite a few trades come on. We go to the open positions, and I'll review some of these stocks because people are asking about the airlines. So we got American, Allegiant. We bought all of these: Alaska, Delta, JetBlue, Spirit, SkyWest, and United Airlines. Now, why isn't Love in here? Interesting. Okay, so anyway, so here's the mixed picture. Delta's working. All of these trades, you look at the entry date was 11/10. So yesterday opening. So this is what's happened, and this updates every night. So these are the current positions. Basically put about 12% on each stock. Each bet was about 12% on this thing. And if we go back to the summary page, we'll see what the right now it's down 0.5% this week. This is the current. Last period was 0 because we didn't have any positions, and year to date 73. So we're down about 0.5% based on that. We'll take a look at some of these stocks really quick here. We'll start with Delta. Delta's down 6%, so these stocks are getting punished a little bit here. We're right at the STX number, 3494, and so we're printing down to that level. This is the daily. Let's take a look at weekly. Yeah, we broke above all the, this thing has just been so contracted. One of the things that these numbers above here are still valid. It looks like we want to go back and head toward that 200-week moving average ultimately. The PPMs are all turning up on a weekly basis. This is a positive pattern, but it is going to be important that we continue to maybe rally back here in the next couple of days. We could see it fall back into the pattern, back into the moving averages. 30, we'll call it. It's already trading 31.82, so it's already back in there. It's getting back into 31.82, 29.66. That this whole area between 29 and 31.80 is going to be support for this thing. So it looks like all these stocks are getting hit a little bit. Same kind of situation here. We came up into resistance on American, and we'll go to Spirit. Just jump through here. Yeah, everything's giving back a lot. So for whatever reason, the vaccine isn't working today. So, but yeah, so we're coming back into these patterns. The next couple of days will be pretty critical. Now, those signals that I showed you on WaveTech are short-term signals, and they have a hair trigger on them. So this thing's going to have to move out of here or not do anything. So let's go. Let's move on. Here's Alibaba, and we're trading down below the 21-week moving average here. And this thing just rolling over big time. Looks like we're heading down to 238 maybe on this. Yeah, 238 toward the 40. Yeah, the PPMs are rolled over. This thing's pretty much in trouble in general on a weekly basis. Daily. Yeah. Probably heading, there's 238s to 200-day moving average too. So that's most likely we'll edge toward that level. At that point, maybe if we get some stability, maybe we can set something up there that will look fairly decent. I think somebody was, this is the daily, don't know much. This looks like a new offering, Palantir Tech. You're looking at, as far as the market grid goes, we're trading just about R3 on this thing. There's not much to really look at here. Looks like we're setting up what I call a dragon head. So we're going to get locked into this big pattern, and this will take probably several weeks to unpack before you'll see any real movement here. Snowflake is another one of those new offerings. This, matter of fact, this is good. Let's go. Let's compare these two. So look at Snowflake, and then we'll go to. So this formation here will probably end up looking like this, like Snowflake, where you'll get this, what I call the dragon head. It just starts to get into this volatility range and will continue to move lower. So that's probably the best analysis that I can give you on that. Let's go to Apple. Just ordered my iPhone 12, or what is it, iPhone 12 Pro Max. Supposed to be here next week. Actually, I think they said maybe the 13th. Maybe it ships on the 13th. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, so Apple is more or less locked into this Fibonacci range that I had up here. I'm going to do my best to try to magnify this. You'll see it in the magnification window here. We're trading up to 0.382. We got 1911, 50%, 2062. There are some objectives suggesting 124.76 in this pattern is likely. PPMs are turning up. You'll see off to the right here that those are turning up. So that is a sign there. There's a better picture on the blowing up here. Is you definitely are seeing an acceleration. Most likely we'll see us print back up toward the at least 124, 129 would be expectation that goes in with the Fibonacci objectives that are here right now, these 3 dots. So yeah, so that should be that on a daily basis. We go over to a weekly chart. Got some long-term objectives for Apple to move substantially higher in the range of 187. Let me over here on if we look at the high target, 187.93, 220, 240. That's a possibility. This kind of goes in line with a lot of the projections we're seeing on the S&P and the NASDAQ and all of these numbers. You got this stock has to move up in some ratio relative to that. So yeah, somebody's mentioning, I talked about this in the live stream last night, is that the earnings tomorrow will be substantially at Disney, Cisco. There's a bunch of them that are coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a big earnings day. Get continuing claims. Probably the biggest news day of the week as far as that goes. We'll see if that can affect market sentiment at all. The sell-off that was happening in the market seemed to stabilized a bit. We're trading back at 561 now on the futures, 35.61 on the S&P futures. So we are seeing some of a bit of a rebound. Nasdaq's back at 861, up 2.11. So we're seeing a rebound. We'll start to focus in on that about 20 minutes from now. Yeah. All right, let's do a couple more. I did see a nice move here. We'll go into BA. Boeing finally is trying to move out of this range. We're getting PPMs to tick up. We're above the RTX 173.09, 181. So we are breaking out, but this thing's been so narrow, I'm not sure what relevance it has from that standpoint. But the PPMs are definitely turning around. We can stay above this 40 period moving average, 174.42 on a weekly basis. Then we could start to move much higher and move toward that, I would say, a ratio of between the 200-week moving average and the current price. Let's take a look at the daily real quick. I think, yeah, so we traded up. I did talk about this a couple weeks ago that I thought we'd get back toward the 200-day moving average. We're trading right at it. So look for a consolidation here and then move up and then start to, if I go back to the weekly, I'll give you some more specific numbers. One of the things I like to do just to come up with numbers and randomly guess a number, I always try to come up with something that will suggest that I'll get this. Let's just put up a, I'm just going to go from the 200 week to the current, and I know this is going to be hard for you folks to see. I'm going to attempt to blow this up, see if we can all see it, because I can't even see it here. Yeah, so this will help a little bit in the window. Is somewhere, let's just call it 220, 232 be 50%. The maximum would be up to the 283 level, but probably resistance 205 up to 232. That first layer is going to be where the resistance will be on that. Yeah, so that'll cover BA. All right, just getting some random ones. DOCU. This is another sort of stay at home. Don't sign a contract. We'll send you a DocuSign kind of thing. That's been going on for a while. That's actually, I'd rather sign things that way than the old-fashioned way. But we do have, this goes back a while ago. We got that big print back on the last previous market high on 9.4, and we saw this thing trade back in to the moving averages, and we've been hovering on this 21 period moving average. That has been the magical, what I call the demand line, and that continues to be right where it is. But we're seeing momentum just fall off of these PPMs, which tells you that is starting to fail, and ultimately we could move toward the 160 level. For the moment, there's plenty of upward momentum to keep this thing climbing right along that 208, 210. We probably got at least 2, maybe 3 more weeks of it having support. And if it doesn't get back above the 214, 216 level, then the stock's going to be in trouble. So I just got some random stuff here. If I can get the so this is Pinterest. I hate this website. That's personal. Just hate going there. I don't know how, it's amazing. But anyway, we went down and we printed on the STX 5184, the low 5206. So we bounced off of that. Looks like, did we get it here? 5808. Yeah, so we got an RXT sell. We did manage, typically you go sideways to down, so we stayed within the range of the previous bar. So we did print, and the goal is that you print the bottom end of this range. But this is going to go the way of snow. This is going to set up the dragon head, and we're going to get this big volatility range. So there's some trades off the lower end of this grid. It probably will continue to be around this 51 level, something like that. I don't know if there's anything on a daily. We'll take a quick look at it. Yeah, we're trading the RXT daily today, 59.97, high 59.87. So we're definitely seeing that probably peaked out, but we are seeing PPMs trying to turn up. So we're going to trade back into that range. Here was the RXT sell on 1029, and there's our 2-3 days down sideways into the grid, and then we actually broke out of the bottom end of the grid, so the volatility's kicked up on this symbol pretty heavily, and I suspect this is playing into the whole stay-at-home kind of thing. I don't know, maybe not. It's more of a craft site, if I recall. Okay. CLTD. This is daily. PPM's trying to turn up. We're into moving average, more of a sideways configuration. We're trading, we traded just above RXT today. Let's go to the weekly. Yeah, so weekly we traded down below just the 10-period moving average, 161. It was up 1.55. And when you see that type of uptrend and that upward price momentum, you usually get a chance to buy it. So we also went through the weekly market grid, which the STX number was 166. So we went all the way down to 55. So that had everything to do with that crazy spike that we saw on there. So let's do some other stuff. Let's go to Amazon. Yeah, Amazon is basically formed. Here's one of those dragon heads where we get that. We traded up. Now we're just locked in a sideways range. The 10 and 21 period moving average weekly are converging, and about the cross, typically that downward cross, most people look at it as a positive. I see it as a 1 to 2 week, or as a negative. I see it as a possible 1 to 2 week rally that would come off of that. But we are seeing PPMs down pretty good here. We got a 0.54 on PPM 1. 3152 is major resistance. So whatever you're likely to get is not going to be much above that. We're looking at just looking at the high here, 3289. R1 didn't even get close to it. So we're trading pretty negative here on this stock. I don't see anything to do with this. We're in a short-term downtrend. We're sandwiched. This has happened a lot, and it seems to happen on a lot of stocks and things that we cover on this live stream. Is we've got the 21 period moving average strong up underneath, the 10 down underneath, and typically what this means is sideways trendless. And we did get a big outside reversal bar last week to the upside, and now we have an inside bar. And so the criteria, if you haven't seen the 3-day trade that I talk about, if you haven't seen the 3-day trade, there's a video in the uploads, I believe, on a short on Apple. But most importantly, there's a description of a trade that you can do when you're actually, anytime you see an outside reversal up or down, there's a criteria. You just have to invert the criteria. The one I put out there was for a short on Apple, which worked quite well. It was right after the split that happened. Yeah, so SPX, we're kind of stalling right around 59.60 on the futures. What time we're getting to be? 21. So we'll keep doing stocks here for another 15-20 minutes. I've got quite a list here I'm still working and getting through. Just brought up Intel weekly. Big reversal on the 23rd and some stabilization. This stock has just got all kinds of problems, and especially with the what do they call it, the thread ripper. I think it's 64 cores or something ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, I just don't see it. There's nothing I can say positive. SE, I did that one already. Let's do Shopify. That'll be good. Shopify is that formation that's in snow, and I forget the PLTR that will go into this formation. These are types of formations that when they come up is they just get locked in these ranges, and there's some good trading to be done around this. Okay, so it just becomes this broad trading range and consolidation. And the age-old question when you see a pattern like this, is it consolidation, which means it's going to continue the previous trend, or is it distribution, which means it's going to roll over? that's always, when you look at a pattern like that, that's what everybody, this consolidation or distribution. And my guess is maybe distribution. There's a lot of stock changing hands up here, and maybe there's lower prices. All the PPMs are trying to turn down pretty hard here. So maybe at least 800 on this stock eventually. Major resistance 990, last 941. So maybe some put spreads on this one might be interesting. Yeah, so I just brought up UPS weekly, same kind of pattern. We managed to make a new high, but we're seeing we still have a positive PPM1, which is a 0.32, but this is not, it's below its first, second derivatives. PPM2 is starting to fail. We're probably going to end up trading between 151, 166, where we're trading right now, and continuing some kind of choppy sideways range. I don't see any new uptrend or anything going here. Probably more of a consolidation / distribution. Yeah, I brought up Southwest Airlines. I wanted to cover this earlier, and we're down 4.14%. So we got that big spike up on the vaccine news. Nothing really after that. We just basically got a spike. So we're going to come back into these moving averages again, maybe 39.93.40, right? You know, maybe a couple dollars more. It should stabilize here and start to move back up. Let's take a quick look at the daily. Yeah, so the daily got the RXT sell. This is the second day, so we should complete this downward move, possibly as far as SPX 38.46, which is more or less what I was leaning to, 40, 49, 38.5, and then we should see this thing's going to go into that sideways movement, and it just no way to get around it at the moment. Yeah, fuel cell. There was a book that came out in 2000, maybe 99, called Natural Capitalism, and this was part of their hypothesis for the future was fuel cells, not electric cars. Fuel cells actually are probably way better than electric, and they end up running electric, but the cell itself, how the energy is being produced, is probably the best if you look at this. But we're looking at like really nice acceleration, breakout over the RTX number today, but you know it looks pretty positive here, to say the least. And let's go to weekly. Oh wow, okay, gonna have to let me go out just a little bit here, see if I can get this to, yeah, I guess this stock came from well beyond where it's at, right? Yeah, so it was once upon a time an $80 stock that's now a $2.69 stock. But yeah, I could see how that thing would be pretty exciting, but this is that short-term analysis is still valid. See what happens. We go to monthly. Yeah, wow, they did a good job getting that when they hype. Yeah, is that really right? 6,727. So that's an interesting one. I suspect it's what, 30 million shares traded today, so this thing's loaded up pretty good. But I don't know much about it, you know, what this company's doing, but the short-term stuff look pretty good. Yeah, so that pattern looks pretty good, getting good acceleration. So hopefully that was helpful for you. So what CRM is Salesforce, right? Yeah, here's that formation again. We got a RXD sell over here on 828. We go sideways into the dragon head. Now we got another RXD sell, and now we're back into sideways. So a couple weeks sideways. This thing's pretty played out, I would say. I don't see a lot of upside. Sideways range, probably trading in the grid right now on this thing between 236, 283. So if you can trade off the moving averages in here, the 10-period moving average might be something to take a look at. Here's MAXR Tech, looking at weekly, and it's sandwiched into a zone here. 10 should stay, most likely 23 to 26 is going to be heavy resistance, and whatever the print low was last week, could see the range could end up to be, if we can't close back above 23, would be an 1837 to 2335. PPMs aren't giving any clues to anything other than there's substantial support down at that $18 level. Here's another little stock, Asphalt Hospitality. PPMs are trying to turn up here. Tough one to read. This is weekly. Definitely been consolidating. Get resistance up here at 706. That's a big number. That's a double from here. Also resistance 331. And we traded as high as 535. This is weekly this week. So I suspect that this is also being played out on the vaccine news from Monday. Autodesk, man, these are just tough patterns. There is an underlying trend, so support, major support, we'll call it 239.77 at the 10-week moving average. Also have the S1 254. The low's been 44, so S2 is 248 on a weekly. Not a lot here. Maybe a trading range. Nothing short term to do. Let me look at the dailies just in case there's something there. Yeah. I guess a bunch of these stocks that popped on the a bunch of these stocks that had popped on the whole vaccine thing have come back in, and it's interesting that they're claiming a 90% effectiveness on a vaccine. And the best I know, anything much over 50% on any vaccine is pretty good. I'm not sure about that though, so I'm not an expert, but 90% is pretty high. I'm sure of that. I'm pretty sure that's way outside of the range of expectation. So maybe that got a little overhyped. Maybe Pfizer was looking to sell some, maybe the insiders were looking to sell some stock or something, but you know, that's, this is most likely that same kind of play here that we're seeing the reaction to, or in response to all that as well. Let's take a look at a couple more. Yeah, AMD. They went into the sideways mode a while back. This is daily. Let's look at weekly. Yeah, weekly major support 75.22. It's got the dragon head formation, which is it's a death sentence in that you're normally once you get that formation, you've got a lot of work to do, and it does indicate more distribution than accumulation that's going on here. So this thing is definitely seeing the PPMs roll over, everything's starting to roll. 75.22 is going to be the downside support, 63 extreme, but the market grid will likely stay in play here since we have a plus 1.75 on PPM 2. That will tell us that 75 will be major support, low 77.63 this week, 87 high. Right. Okay. Yeah, JB, you're right. Yeah, that's interesting. I saw that report too, that the Pfizer CEO unloaded a couple shares. Yeah, here's Pfizer stock since we're on that subject, and definitely spiked out. Yeah, it's almost like, you know, I saw something one day that it's almost like it's hard to tell what's real anymore, right? All right, let's take a look. What time we're getting? 36. Let's take a look at a couple others. Haven't covered NEO. Got the RXT sell last week. I remember talking about it. We went a little higher this week. What the RXT sells suggest is that you'll move toward the lower end of the market grid. So it went down to the low 38.11, 38.22 was S2, and could move further down into that range, maybe 36, 34 as we come into next week. This is weekly. If we look at a daily, yeah, we went right to the 10-day moving average, which was 38.14, low 34.64. And that was today's action, actually. 37.66 RS3. 30. So we traded between S2, R3, but in there was 38.14, which was also the 10-period moving average, which had a 4.15 rate of change, which said there was less than a 10% probability. So that was your buy point. So it's a little late for that. Been nice to know that about 3 hours ago. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate it. Yeah, Sam, we did see how that worked. We had 2 RXT cells last week, and I guess they didn't work, did they? So everything is a probability, and I know that because I said it, it's 100%, but it's not. So yeah. Thanks for acknowledging the obvious. Appreciate it. But the yeah. So does every RXT cell work? No. And what it tells you is we're going back into the market grid range. So, you know. No, I don't think I would go with an SQ on that, Joe. I'm a little hesitant on that. I think we're too close to the breakout point, and I think things are moving that way. If you look at the early on in the show, that was it. Yeah, I would be careful with that one. Yeah, here's another one of these patterns. We've fallen back into the range as far as that goes, and back to the 1021 period moving averages. There is a slight uptrend on a daily at 0.24, which is support at 1306. So we're trading right at support between 1306, 1295. Below that, probably heading down to 1200. Yeah, there's a couple somebody asked for. Hopefully they're still hanging out. Ford Motor, some of the classical motor guys. We're looking at ppm 1.79. We did print. Here's another one of those RXT sell signals, and we did manage to go through the extreme. A lot of times when you want to sell those RXTs are on the next day, and especially on a rally toward, a lot of times they'll go to their RXT the next day after one of those sells. So if you get them on right, they still work. You know, and they're not 100%. Here's an example of that. This is a RXT on Ford, closed at 821. RXT was 804. The next day it actually traded to our. That's why you need the market grid service if your stock's on there. You've got R3 841, 835. Let me just see here. Yeah, R2 the next day was 834. The high was 835. It closed at 816. Then it drifted the next couple days down. So you want to sell the higher opening, the RXT, R2, R1, R2 hit on the next session. That's how the RXT sale moves. And if it doesn't close lower, you let it go. You don't just go, oh, it was RXT sell and I hold it, and it didn't work. So yeah, in fact, if you look through our database, I think the average accuracy is around 61, 62% on the universe of 14,000 symbols. So that means you lose 4 times out of 10. So let's flop over. We haven't been over there for just a little bit. Let's go over to the level 2 chart a little bit. Looks like futures are trying to push back up a little bit here, up 0.63, 63. We need a close on the futures of 35.76 to signal the breakout. Today was a decent day so far. Still got 15 minutes to go. So this is certainly one of those situations that we're not going to get that breakout today. That's not going to happen. It may take a couple more days of chop before we'll be able to get there. Yeah, exactly, Frugalholic. That's exactly the point, right? There's a lot of folks on the internet just they just want to wait for you to say something wrong and they jump all over you. It's okay. I'm a big boy. I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, so e-bike trader, yeah, RX weekly sell usually is a week to 3 weeks, and you sometimes can scalp a quick profit out of those things. Yeah, I did a lot of detail, Rajat, on the markets on the beginning, so on the rebroadcast, make sure that happens. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, we got a bot going here. Thanks. I'm sure Jay's getting those. Wow. It looks like we're getting attacked by the bots big time. Interesting. Benny's back. Yeah. Man, look at this. This is amazing. You folks seeing this? Wow. They just blew up our entire. It's Ray Dalio. Yeah, I think you're right. That's super funny. I mean, they are absolutely, this is very interesting. Yeah, I think Jay's probably deleting them, maybe someone else, but yeah, look at this. They're just all of these bots. Yeah, very interesting. I don't know what an old sheet is. What is an old sheet? Anybody know? Maybe old shit? Anybody that doesn't think that I don't know I'm old, you're wrong. And in fact, relative to people I've known in my life that have been very successful, I have one of my very favorite people in the world is a guy named Marty, and he's 84 now, and he's still going like a maniac. I met him when he was 56 years old. I've known Marty for like 30 years. And the guy was a maniac then. He hasn't missed a beat. He's 84. He sends me a message on his birthday every year and goes, hey, 84, I'm still pitching, still doing stuff. He's an investment banker. Guy's amazing. All right. So that's, yeah, it looks like that the attack is over, but that was interesting. Yeah, today the young you'll ever be going forward for sure. Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it got killed finally. Who knows? That was interesting. Yeah, we spend a lot of time. One of the things, it was nice in the old world when no one but my institutional clients knew it existed. But getting a little more popular, getting more visible has had its challenges. And our info at Kendall report email can be challenges. I saw someone said they emailed me to call or something like that. you know, it's possible. I mean, if you could see that email box, Jay could tell you it's absolutely crazy. So I think we have that on the YouTube site, and there's other places. So it gets interesting. Okay, so we've got 12 minutes to go. We're still seeing a bit of a bid come back in. We're trading 65 on the futures here, and we're seeing things really come out. Yeah, WaveTech right now is only U.S. stocks. Yep, that is correct. And we do have, I looked at the data vendor, we do have availability for other markets. I just, believe it or not, it seems silly, but historical data that happened yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, is amazingly expensive. I mean, we got a database back to 1980, and it's literally probably has a value of millions of dollars because of the data it's there, of what you could resell it for. I've actually considered going into the data business. But yeah, it's crazy. So we're getting bid up. So it's all good to get the data. If I knew I was going to have a lot of customers, maybe Canada is a candidate for that, and maybe some of the European countries might be candidates if we get things going. The problem that we have in WaveTech, the problem we have in Portfolio Expert, is that a lot of these we think everything is US dollars, right? So the decimal, so if you have some things in euros, some in Canadian dollars, and you put those and mix them within a portfolio, they're not going to give you the right valuation for the portfolio. So we have to do a currency conversion. We also have to have a point, just like with Bitcoin now, we have to get a currency. When do we convert the currency? When do we reconcile portfolios? We went through a thing about 10, 12 years ago on looking at doing international markets, and it was pretty complicated, believe it or not, just to reconcile a portfolio with different assets in it. Okay, so we are down to 9 minutes, trading 66 handle. Let's go over to this other chart for a second, and let's go to the NASDAQ futures. I'm also going to put this up on a 1 minute chart. I just want to see what this looks like here. Yeah, so up 2.29, 11,843. And I'm looking at Market Grid on my phone, and in Q 11,824, 899. So we came just short of R3 today, 11,933. I mentioned a number in the commentary last night. It's 11,900. We are setting, that is a key number where we're setting at on the futures here right now. We're trading 94, 95, just like that. If we can trade, if we close above 900, this would be a big deal, maybe for me personally anyway, is that this would be, we're setting right at a breakout point. We're at 68, 69, so we're seeing some buying. I'm going to go over back to the level 2 here. So we're seeing the continuation rally. That magic number on the S&P futures is 76. Don't think we can get there, but you know, hey, anything's possible. You know, we saw a 100-point drop off the highs on Monday. So yeah, I'm going to flash back and forth here on this chart here. Yeah, so that 11,900 number is a big number for me. And I don't think we'll get these breakout numbers, But all of this stuff is just almost lined up exactly. NASDAQ 11,900, S&P 3576, futures on the cash 3588, SPX right now 3573. So we're 15 handles from that number. The cash number is a much different number, and it has everything to do with the way that the cash trades a primary. Somebody, I saw a comment earlier in the stream that somebody was talking about most of the action is happening overnight. And that's what we saw last week. All of the big moves were happening overnight in a very thin futures market, and they were getting bid up, and the machines and the algos were driving that thing. And one night it went up huge numbers, and the volume was nothing. I want to say maybe 80,000 contracts or something. If we look at, if I bring up the ESs on here right now just to get the volume on this chart here, the volume for the day has been 1.2 million. So they moved the market up like 2+% overnight on 80,000 contracts. And I believe, and there's been some articles about this, there's been a lot of manipulation in the aftermarkets that happen. And then you saw it last week. If I brought that chart up, if we went to like an hourly graph, matter of fact, it was most evident on this hourly graph last week as the stair steps up, and we actually did it again on Monday. So we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row where it gapped up and then it drifted lower into the close. Every day, same pattern. Overnight strength, higher opening, maybe print a slightly new higher high, and then drift into the close sideways. Every day, same pattern. Every night, I've been watching this thing and it being manipulated night after night after night. Yeah, I don't think they're hitting stops. I don't know. I haven't used a stop in 20 years. You guys use stops? I hope not. But yeah, I don't think that's what it was. They're just, I went through a scenario one day at one of these live streams on how market prices get moved. They don't have anything to do with stops. There is a very easy way. We used to do this stuff on the floor all the time, especially in the thin trades. We used to have a pit on the Pacific Options Exchange, Bank of New York, and talk about manipulation. Well, we used to call pit monkeys. We could manipulate that stock with very little volume, just by hitting a few bids, buying a couple of shares of stock. It was really thin. And when you get these thin markets, there's some techniques, and these algos know how to do it. I'm telling you, it's an old floor trading routine. It's super simple to make prices move, and I won't go through it right now. Yeah, I think somebody's asking who. I don't know. I really don't. That was I'll do air quotes, the force that I talked about. And somebody said, may the force be with us. But yeah, you can see it right here. I mean, this chart tells you everything that's going on. We're actually bidding this. We're at 70. Yeah, we're a long ways from SPX triggering. ES is at 65, so we pulled back just a little bit. Let's go back to the time we got 3 minutes. Let's stay focused here on level 2. So we did print up to 70, and we're backfilling here for a few minutes. So I'll go off screen, and yeah, yeah, I'm just looking at a couple comments here, folks. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure who's buying. I'm just reading some of the comments here as we come into the close. We got less than a minute to go. So we're going to go out here. You're going to hear the magic bell that we used to hear in the wave tech training. It's actually going to be accurate. It should go off any minute. And so that'll be exciting. Yeah, so we're pretty flat here. As you know, I always watch the last 2 minutes of trade of the actual, and then the first 2 of the aftermarket tell us a lot what's going on. Bell should go off any minute, any second now. There it is. That's the party. And we go out at 35.6875. So futures are short. Another day before we'll know about that. And that was that. So pretty good day though. Let's take a quick review. But a pretty good day. NASDAQ up 224 on the futures. Russell flat, so I guess that's okay. S&P up 0.7778 on the ES. SPX up 0.77, 35.72. Still need that breakout number, but I think it's coming. I don't see this as okay. Didn't get it today. There's no definite day. I've mentioned this to you folks before. The fair amount of people that come on the channel a lot, as I had a nickname on my floor trading days, which was Dr. Given, and they'd always try to force me, okay, when is it going to happen? And you know, timing is always the hard part, but it looks to me that we will get this breakout close, which is 35.88 cash SPX and 35.76 on the futures. And we should get, I think we'll get those closes. They'll probably come this week. It's Wednesday. So we've got 2 more sessions to go. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, just to kind of complete the conversation we had with you know, the whole overnight manipulation, this chart that I have on the screen here, this stair stepping, this gap higher than drifting lower. You know, yesterday and today, by the way, are the only days that didn't happen. It happened Monday. Now it's almost like even with today's move up, it looks maybe felt more normal today, the way we traded, I think. We spent the last couple hours together. And so, yeah, so yeah, they are, let's see here. Yeah, we are seeing a little bidding up. Let me go back to that a little bit. Yeah, so they're bidding up a little bit after hours. So we're looking at, we're already starting the game, right? In the first couple of minutes. So we did see some buying. So that's probably some short covering coming out of the close today. Might be some net buying coming in from some of the funds. And, you know, I've talked about this before. When you hear there was institutional buying coming in on the close, most likely that was ETFs, mutual funds, those type of characters out there squaring up their positions to balance their funds for the end of the day. They have a lot of stored orders, so what they'll do is they'll even buy futures, buy the stock, buy the futures, and then sell the stock afterwards. Or if they didn't get everything done, they'll put some futures on to balance out until they can get to the next day. So there's a number of ways to balance these things, but it's always just that, a balancing act, pun intended. So yeah, I don't know. Well, they push it. Somebody made a good comment, so they're still bidding this thing a bit here. We're pretty close to the high of the session now. I just want to look at something real quick here on my phone. Yeah, so yeah, so headlines coming across. NASDAQ rallies first time in 3 days. That's what I was talking about. This is the 3-day pattern. We should get at least 3 days, maybe as many as 5 days up. We'll see what it looks like once I shut the machines off and all that stuff. So we got 534 people. Let's see, Bob. So let me get on the other screen here. I'm a bold man for doing this. You all need to reward me by at least subscribing to the channel if you haven't. You don't have to super chat, but maybe you do. You should sign up for WaveTech. Maybe that's the play here. Okay, so I'm going to go off screen so I can get this set up. Hang on. Don't go away. I'm not really going away. Just hang on. This is how you sign up for WaveTech. Boy. Bear with me 1 second, folks. Hang on. Okay. So you folks asked for this, right? So this is I will tell you where I'm at. This song is 8 minutes long, okay? And so you guys are ready to see Bob Kendall, our old band, Ruth Baxter, and this is these are just still pictures. I have some video. I can't go there. You folks all need to reward me with this, subscribing to the channel for taking the time to or taking the risk to go back 50 years ago. It's not quite, almost 50 years ago. So, all right, you ready? You guys got to talk to me and let me know you're hearing me. No, I am here. I'm going to make it full screen. Let's do full disclosure. The guy in the white shirt with the blonde long hair is me. Okay. That's Rick. That's Joel. The guy's music that I'm playing at the beginning of the show is the guitar player. And that's John Forsythe from Charlie's Angels. And we were on the Jerry Lewis telethon raising money. Indianapolis, Indiana. So you have the you have it. So this was one of our songs. So 8 minutes. I'm going to go off screen. I don't think I can anyway, you'll have to I am the bass. That was my old Rickenbacker bass. I love that thing. There's a whole story behind that. So we're going to go for it. All right. Get ready. I'm going to go off screen. Oh no. This is like the long version of Freebird. Yep, that's me right in the middle. The little kid in the front's my baby brother. $1972, baby 3. Okay, you guys asked for it. That was really funny. Yeah, I think it was 1972. Everybody in this picture, there's something to be said about it. This picture here was kind of an interesting day. Those of you, I think we've got some Londoners on. This is a band from England. We got to hang out with these guys all day. It was a lot of fun. They were playing Chicago. This was at an old record store. How funny is this stuff, huh? But yeah, so that was our Freebird song, and we used to play the Chicago area quite a bit. Had little mini concerts and stuff. My buddy's putting together we had a whole category of songs. We actually tried to get a deal, but we didn't. And yeah, so everybody's right. I'm a huge Hendrix fan, Black Sabbath, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. Yeah, but anyway, so it took a lot of nerve to put me out there like this, okay? So it's kind of weird. Somebody said I haven't changed. A buddy of mine that's known me for 40 years said I haven't changed, but I have. Yeah, so if you know Wishbone Ash, these guys were great, man. We hung out with them. Yeah, it was way cool day. That was a very one of those memorable days to hang out and to do stuff and do all this, guys. So it was very cool. I might as well just tell the whole story since I'm so deep into this about Bob Kendall stuff. But this was a little town outside of Chicago called Hagwish. And these guys' albums in this day, you could buy a vinyl record for $2.99 and $3.49. Those were the two prices they had. They were super discounted. If you look at some of the names on the wall, Joan Baez, I mean, if you got to be old like me to even know what this shit is. Stereo 8 cartridge. I bet half of you, 3/4 of you people don't know what the hell that is, right? So anyway, but yeah. Anyway, that was sort of fun. Yeah, that was interesting. There is some videos, but yeah, there is some videos out there, but anyway. Yeah, it does say Ruth Baxter 1972. So I thought it was 72 or 3 when we did this. So yeah, that was a cool day. I have no idea who the chick off to the left, far left is. Don't know who that was. But anyway, we had a lot of fun, and somebody asked about the beard in this previous picture, I think over here. I'm going to tell you a funny story because I was just telling this morning, and one of the things that Joel, that beard got total ZZ Top like. It got way, like down to the middle of his chest. He had this big long beard, and he used to have one of these plastic bugs, and he would stick it. We'd go into places to eat, whatever, McDonald's or whatever, and he'd stick that bug in his beard. And some woman goes, "That boy's got a bug in his beard." It was pretty funny. Anyway, so let you into the other world. And I do still play, and Joel and I were talking. He's the guy with the beard. We were talking the other day. He just had his right shoulder rotator cup replaced. So we were talking the other day about collaborating a little bit and all that stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching, sharing a little bit of my life of old with you. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. Still a metalhead, still all that stuff. Some of you already know that stuff. So anyway, so let's see here. Yeah, what state? That was Chicago. Yep. So yeah, that was way back in the day. So just a young lad. No worries in the world. Life was a lot easier then as I look back. So, yep. Mad Gramps. Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, so people have been asking a lot about that. So I did it. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking at, I noticed that Joel put another song on there. We used to call it our Russian song, but maybe another time when we do a live stream. Yeah, so yeah, did a lot of cool stuff, man. I've been really lucky. I appreciate everybody watching this channel. We didn't have quite the viewers we normally have. You know, I think, like I said, I think people are pretty worn down. These markets have been absolutely crazy. I think the last 2 weeks, I haven't been able to get on a rhythm with the nightly videos since the time change. All you folks are lucky enough, believe it or not, that you get to change your clock. Here in Arizona, we don't change our clocks, so everything I do, it's 2:23 in the afternoon. This used to be 1:23 just a little bit over a week ago. So all of a sudden, my whole day gets slid an hour forward. And I'm still acting as if I'm in Pacific time when I'm doing the videos. I'm trying to get them out before 12:30, which is 11:30 at night. So that's sort of working. But yeah, no, yeah, I wouldn't give up a second of any of that stuff. We have so many great stories. Joel and I've been talking a lot in the last couple of weeks after his surgery and stuff, and we've just been kind of hanging out and flashing back to a lot of stuff. We had some amazingly fun times with the band and other things, and going back to, you know, we met in high school, so we'd known each other for a long time. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so the other thing, so I'm gonna look into this. So, you know, we're just looking for ways for you folks to. We love the super chats and stuff like that. Got a few today, and I really appreciate that. But you know, we really are trying to do something very significant, which hopefully soon I'll be able to really open up another part of the world of going forward with me and trying to bring in some really cool tools. Like, you know, we've got Portfolio Expert out there now. We've got WaveTech. We've got the grid. We've got, you know, the screens, the stock screens, and all that stuff. And that's all really all cool stuff. But there's a whole nother level of things that are going to be necessary in moving forward. And, you know, it's like I said, I saw somebody, some guy was telling me, just retire, old man, and stuff like that, you know. And I you know, I would tell you folks, if you get lucky enough to be my age or beyond, doing what you love and care about, and you're old, be glad that you made it there. There's a couple people that were in those pictures that you just saw. They're not here anymore. Okay, a couple of those people passed away, and so, you know, life is long. Even though people say it's short, it's long. There's a lot ahead of you. So, you know, I appreciate. And this is kind of cool. So, yeah, I don't know when the live grid will be available. I've just had absolutely all kinds of problems with the TradeStation version. We are looking at, last night I spent some time working with somebody trying to, actually we're talking about using our existing database and developing something that even goes in Portfolio Expert or somewhere where we can get it in software in our own world, because trying to integrate with TradeStation is fine, but it's, you know, there's just something's been going on. I've had, and if you notice, if you're a subscriber, last night there were only like, I think 60 or 70 stocks on the grid. I had to cut it way back. I was getting so many errors out of the system. I'm going to try to rebuild back the old one. That's part of my project. I am going to go off and I'm going to In and Out. Those of you know what In and Out is. I'm going to get my triple protein style, which is no bun, because I am a keto maniac. And so I do that. I'll take a break. When I come back, I'm going to work on the grid. Got a couple other things to do today, and then I'll ultimately produce a video for everybody. But yeah, so it's yeah. So that, like, I'm still kind of trying to get over sharing that video with you guys. So we've been getting a lot of requests. People have been asking for it. So you got it. Right now, PX cannot do live data. Just wish me well on my meeting tomorrow, okay? That we go really good, because that's one of the things that will be next. Will be live data, live charts, live everything. That is the plan. So, you know, that is the whole next level. And, you know, I'm super excited about being able to do this. I would like nothing more than to do the whole channel, everything I do, without ever putting a third-party software up. And that's really where I'm going. Some of these packages, like TradingView, is awesome. TradeStation's good. Maybe TradingView is even better in some ways. You know, there's a lot of good platforms out there, and to spend literally, and I kid you not, millions of dollars in rebuilding some of that stuff isn't worth it. It's very tough to go out and compete against those type of firms, and you have to have some serious money backing to go there. It's almost crazy. I have a good friend that has went down that path, and it's tough. It's a tough run to go up against that world, especially on the retail side. There's, like I said, there's a lot of good platforms. So, but yeah, so, and yeah, just, so at this stage, we're just hanging out and talking. There's still 300 of us hanging out. So, yeah, you know, I agree. I think TradingView is amazing. I like it too. I haven't spent as much time. TradeStation is part of what I do, because I've been on TradeStation since 1992. I built platforms. There are not indicators, but user studies and things that are embedded into TradeStation that I built in the 90s are still out there. And there's some other things there's a whole bunch of stuff that I helped to inspire back in the day. And I was kind of mad when the Cruz brothers sold out. I didn't know, because I think I could have put a consortium together to own TradeStation with some folks and do a buyout with them. And I'm really disappointed that I didn't realize it was happening when Monex bought them. And I was just like devastated, because had been talking 6 months before that deal was revealed. I had been talking about we should try to put something together. Would love to have the platform, but you know, as it's turning out, I think maybe TradingView and some other things out there have an edge on this stuff. And what we're trying to do is build a real-time portfolio management tool. Nobody does what we do, and at the level that we do it. I showed you how we took and just trounced Kathy Wood, and she's good, right? And I tell everybody, even what's his name, Peter Schiff. I met him in Dallas several years ago. I tried to tell Peter I could actually make him look a lot better, and he was being such a prick that he and so full of himself he couldn't listen to what I was trying to tell him. He would have been a lot, if he would have listened to me, I could have shown him how to take our process and really made some of his funds actually make money. I don't think he's terrible manager. I don't know why he exists. But yeah, so just a quick, so anyway, I'm just chatting. Yeah. So I brought you into my personal world a little bit. There's a lot of cool stuff. Maybe I'll bring some more music. Maybe we'll do that another time. That would be really good. 2 weeks ago, we did a Saturday morning hangout. And so the markets were closed and it doesn't clutter up with what's going on. Yeah, so that's the plan is, Peter, is what we're trying to do is build a amazing multivariant dynamic robo-advisor that you can actually you can use the algorithms and build the strategies like we have in WaveTech, like we have in Portfolio Expert, but have it 100% automated, and it just does it. And you know, the goal has been for me personally for over 20 years, and the software development that I've been involved in has been to actually build process to manage the real money. Well, I call it the retirement money and those things. We're trading 76 on these futures. They're bidding them up. Here we go again overnight, right? But the goal is to be able to help people actually manage money, make everything efficient. And I kind of went on a rant earlier in the live stream today talking about that. And you know, I think that's where the world's going. I've been pretty good over the years at sort of, you know, seeing the future a little bit. You know, I saw the future back in 1998, which was to automate the portfolio process. We never brought it to retail. We're doing that on a low level right now. You know, we're working on trying to figure out how to integrate with people's lives, with their money, with their retirement funds, and have something. 'Cause capital preservation has always been number one. Everybody's always bored. It's not always about making, you know, 30, 40, 50%. It's about not losing 30, 40, or 50%. And that's the world I've lived in my career has been hedging, working with banks, controlling risk in banks and mortgage companies. And ultimately we took that risk management stuff over into portfolio management. And people don't get that it's not always about beating the S&P. It's not always about the things you think it's about getting money to grow over time. And if you can get it to grow, that's why the buy and hold people that do the pie charts, they go, oh, look, you grow at this percent, that percent. Well, we figured out how to take that percent and double or triple it over that same length of time. So the question is, why wouldn't you want to do that? The answer is you would. We've focused all of our efforts for 20 some odd years in helping investment advisors, and we still do that today. I'm glad to do that. We love all of our customers. Now we're trying to take that same process out to the retail folks. And the goals there are, you know, to run your 401ks. You know, we've entered into this new world. We'll call it the post-COVID world, where people are working from their homes. They're going to be much more remote. I have been working from the internet since 1992. I've not had to have an office. Okay, so this is just everybody's catching up with the way I've been running everything. And we had, when we started the original core of this company, we had an office in Denver, Colorado, and in 2001, right after 9/11 happened, we went virtual in 2001, and this company has run virtually with all of our support team and everything we've had in the past. Everything's been virtual. And then we had annual gatherings that we would do twice a year. We had retreats. We call them corporate retreats, where we all got together and spent time in planning and just doing those type of things. And so that's how, so the virtual world, I think, is going to be, is we already know, is expanding. That's why the Zooms and the stay-at-home trade was so big. That trade's not over. It just, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more entries into a new world, a lot of new things coming out. I mentioned earlier in the thing about fintech, about some of these areas that you're going to see this growth happen, and that's going to continue. And I'm hoping, I couldn't hook up today, but I'm working on actually getting some sponsors of the channel right now, the people that I know and believe in that can help others. Of course, we've reached out to Runa to be a sponsor, because I got to have my cranked up tea. But yeah, so you know, that's the mission that I'm on right now. This is, as I've told folks, this is my final run in the corporate world. This is my legacy that I want to leave behind, you know. And I see all the trolls, and they don't bother me, because there's a much bigger mission here than, you know, figuring out what the S&P is going to do 3 days from now or tomorrow. And, you know, the videos that I do are actually to support all of the efforts in the channel from the standpoint of the software and all that. And really, I saw a comment, I think it was on WaveTech training the other day, something came out, and what I saw was they were saying that, you know, don't worry about Bob's opinion, just get WaveTech and run your portfolios. And that's exactly what you should do. You know, is that a sales pitch? Absolutely, because it removes all the emotions. And I saw somebody make a comment that, you know, and the whole purpose, how I got here was because of my emotions. And those of you that know a little bit of my story, and I do have a 36 or 38,000 words of a book written that I need to get that out. But I'm sitting here, I'm keeping an eye on the futures, and they're trading almost 76 right now. They're trading 35.50 right now. And so we're up almost 1% overnight. They're pushing them again. So we're going to close here in just a few minutes on the futures, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, it looks like I'm yeah, that's funny, Joseph. I've got there's a couple of really good bass solos around somewhere, but maybe we'll work on some stuff. But yeah, yeah, Anthony, everybody is commenting. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, I'm not sure, Jay Kendall, what's the system? Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, the futures are just contracts to buy the S&P 500. So Investopedia will be a good place to figure that out. Mr. Google will help you out with that. But, you know, hey, listen, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for great comments. And maybe what I'll do is I'll leave you with a final Ruth Baxter tune as I put the final closing screen out. So thanks again. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it.